Chapter 2. The New Frontier. Marcus Sturluson floated in the cockpit of his ship, the vast darkness of space around him punctuated by unfamiliar stars and celestial bodies. The initial shock of the reactor malfunction and the subsequent blinding flash of light had left him disoriented. But now, as the reality of his situation began to sink in, Marcus knew he had to come to terms with this new reality. His ship, although damaged, was still functional. The advanced instruments and diagnostic systems were his lifeline in this alien universe. Marcus took a deep breath, steadying himself as he began to assess his surroundings. The stars outside the window were different, their constellations unrecognizable. He was no longer in the solar system he knew. As he navigated through the void, a blip on his radar caught his attention. The instruments indicated a nearby planet, one that showed signs of life. Marcus's heart raced with a mix of excitement and apprehension. He adjusted his course, steering the ship toward the planet. As he approached, the planet's surface came into view. It was a vibrant world with lush green forests, towering mountain ranges, and vast oceans. Using the ship's instruments, Marcus scanned the surface and detected cities and roads, clear indicators of intelligent life. Relief washed over him. He had found a world that could potentially support him. Marcus conducted a series of tests to verify the planet's ability to sustain human life. The atmosphere was breathable, with a composition similar to Earth's. The gravity was slightly lighter, but within tolerable limits. The water sources appeared clean, and the vegetation was rich and diverse. From a biological standpoint, the planet was a perfect match. As he prepared to land, something unexpected happened. The ship's sensors detected a powerful gravitational anomaly. Before Marcus could react, the ship was caught in an invisible force, dragging it into the planet's orbit. Alarms blared as the ship was pulled into a rapid descent, spiraling toward the surface. Marcus fought to regain control, but the force was too strong. The ship hurtled through the atmosphere, the heat shields glowing red-hot as they struggled to withstand the intense friction. The landscape below rushed up to meet him, a blur of greens and browns. With a deafening crash, the ship plummeted into a dense forest, tearing through trees and underbrush before coming to a jarring halt. The impact knocked the wind out of Marcus, and for a moment, everything went dark. When he came to, the cockpit was filled with the sounds of creaking metal and the smell of burning electronics. Marcus groaned, his body aching from the crash. He quickly checked the ship systems. Many were offline, but life support was still operational. Marcus took a moment to collect himself. He was alive, and that was what mattered. He unstrapped himself from the pilot's seat and grabbed his survival gear. The ship's hull was breached, and he needed to get outside to assess the situation. Donning his gear, Marcus exited the wrecked ship and stepped into the wilderness. The air was fresh and filled with the scent of blooming flowers and damp earth. He took a deep breath, savoring the sensation. For a moment, he allowed himself to appreciate the beauty of this new world. The forest around him was dense and teeming with life. Strange birds called from the treetops, and unfamiliar creatures scurried through the underbrush. Marcus knew he needed to find help and make contact with the planet's inhabitants. He activated his portable scanner and began to make his way through the forest, hoping to find a road or path that would lead him to civilization. As he walked, he marveled at the flora and fauna, some of which seemed familiar, while others were entirely alien. As Marcus made his way through the dense forest, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The crash landing had undoubtedly drawn attention, and he needed to stay on high alert. The forest was alive with strange sounds and movements, and every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig set his nerves on edge. After hours of trekking, Marcus finally stumbled upon a well-trodden road. Relief washed over him as he realized he was on the path to civilization. But before he could take another step, a group of 3 small, green, ugly creatures emerged from the underbrush. They were about the size of small children, with sharp teeth and beady eyes. Goblins. The goblins must have seen the craft landing and had come to investigate. They stopped when they saw him, grunting and chattering in a language Marcus couldn't understand. The tension was palpable as the goblins eyed him suspiciously. Marcus raised his hands in a gesture of peace.
I don't mean any harm.
He said, hoping his tone would convey his intentions.
I'm just trying to find help.
The goblins continued to grunt and chatter, their expressions unreadable. Marcus tried a few more phrases, but it was clear they didn't understand him. The situation was growing increasingly tense, and Marcus could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins. Suddenly, one of the goblins emitted a high-pitched scream and charged at Marcus, brandishing a crude weapon. The attack was clumsy and uncoordinated, but it caught Marcus off guard. He sidestepped the goblin's lunge and instinctively tripped it. The goblin stumbled forward, hitting its head on a rock in the path and knocking itself out cold. The other two goblins wasted no time. They let out guttural cries and rushed at Marcus, weapons raised. Knowing he was outnumbered and unarmed, Marcus made a split-second decision. He turned and ran, sprinting down the road as fast as his legs could carry him. The goblins gave chase, their footsteps pounding behind him. Marcus's heart raced as he pushed himself to keep running. The forest blurred past him, and he could hear the goblin snarls growing fainter with each passing second. He had to find a way to lose them. Up ahead, Marcus spotted a dense thicket of bushes and trees. Without hesitation, he veered off the road and plunged into the underbrush, hoping the thick foliage would slow the goblins down. He wove through the trees, ducking under branches and leaping over roots, his breath coming in ragged gasps. After what felt like an eternity, Marcus finally dared to glance back. The goblins were nowhere in sight. He slowed to a stop, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. The forest was eerily silent, save for the distant calls of birds and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Marcus leaned against a tree, his mind racing. He had narrowly escaped the goblins, but he knew he couldn't stay in the forest forever. He needed to find help and make contact with the planet's inhabitants. Gathering his resolve, Marcus set off once more, determined to find a way out of the wilderness and into the safety of civilization.